All right, with the sides, the only thing that you need the piece for is to measure how much you need. So if you give yourself an inch of extra on the top and the bottom, I need 15 inches on this side and let's say 12 inches on that side. So you just measure what you need for the sides. Now you take your fabric, and I'm going to say this. This is something that's very important, okay? That you really need to think about when you're building this stuff. I'm going to make one component that's going to wrap all the way around this, and I want it to be 1 3/4 inch finish. So I'm going to take 1 3/4 inches, and I'm going to double that, and then I'm going to add an inch for a fold and an inch for a fold. So what is that? That's 1 3/4, and then 1 3/4 is 3.5, and then 1 inch for a fold on one side is 4.5. Another inch for the fold on the other side is 5.5, and then I'm going to add 1/4 inch because that's going to compensate for having 3 different folds on there. And I'll show you what I mean. So let me say that one more time. You want 1 3/4 inch finish. So you have 1 3/4 inch on one side. Then you're going to double that. That makes it 3.5 inches for the other side. 1 inch for a fold is 4.5 inches. 1 inch for a fold is 5.5 inches. And then add 1/4, which makes it 5 3/4 inches. So that is a straight line there. So I'm going to mark up 5 3/4 inches. 5 3/4 inches, and I'm going to draw a line through there, and then the 2 inches down, because that's going to give me the 1 inch fold. And then down here at the bottom we also need another 2 inch line for a fold. This will make sense. This will make sense when I'm done. You'll see what I'm talking about. All right, now again, I'm going to take. You know what? I just screwed the pooch. Let me buckets. No, I'm not. I can't start it over. All right, I should not have drawn this. My bad. I should not have drawn this on the outside. I need to draw this on the inside. And let me sharpen my pencil. Hang on. All right, my bad. Sometimes, a lot of times if you're just doing stuff, you don't have to think about it. But when I'm talking about it, I'm thinking about it too much. So these lines, you do this from the inside of the material. You have sunbrella, it doesn't matter. But with vinyls, it does matter. So you want your fold or your lines on the inside. Because now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in, right? That way. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to fold it to that line that way. And this I definitely want to pre-crease before I get to the sewing machine. So I'm going to pin that down, and then I'm going to come up here, I'm going to hold it right on that line and go ahead and put this crease in there. Do those sides of it. Okay, so now you have those 2 creases in there. Let's go to the sewing machine. All right, now your machine, don't let this fluster you, okay? And just it's a little bit tricky to do this at first. But once you get your fingers right, it's not so bad to do this. So I want to hold those 2 down, right? And then I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to line this edge up right there. Actually, I got to back up. We got to sew this. So if you were doing this with Strataglass, you have to hold it like that and fold it down. But once again, I'm forgetting. I don't know where my brain's at right now. We need this fake stitch line, okay, on both sides of this for acrylic for bonding. See how easy that is to fold right on once you have a crease. Now I'm using my finger as a guide here. to keep that stitch line nice and straight. You do both sides. Okay, now you can take this and you fold it in half. So once again, if you're making this component, you're making this component for Stratoglass where you're going to stitch out here, you wouldn't want to put that first stitch line in. You want to fold the whole thing over and just sew this side, and then when you sandwich it in the clear and you stitch, then you get that stitch line, blah, blah, blah. You got it. All right, so just line it up. Now remember, this outside line was a mistake. Even doing a demo presentation, I can't do it without making a mistake. Mistakes happen all the time. All right, so there we go. So there's our finished component. Now let's take it over and we'll do some bonding. All right, take notice of something here. So here is the same component that's there. It virtually looks the same. It's exactly the same size because it was the 1.5 inches, just made different, right? So I guess the theory there is you could make these components because they're easy to make and put it on the top if it's completely straight, if there's no curve in it, right? So let's just do this. Let's whack off a chunk for that side. And let's see here. That side. You do, and it's the same thing now. It's the same thing, and there is no inside or outside of this except for this nasty white line that I drew on there. You put that on, line it up, and I'm going to bond all the way through the material. Now here's something too. If this component happens to be 6, 7, 8, 10 inches down here, you could go ahead and put your ruler on your 3/4 inch fold there and draw that as a reference, right? So that when you line this up, you can see that, so that you're not walking it in or out on that side. Next thing like I started to say, I'm going to bond through the bottom of this, and that's going to be sufficient, all right, in my opinion. Now, you can come back and put another stitch line just through the fabric to hold this on, so that if you're worried about the bond coming loose from just fabric to fabric, which is definitely not as strong as going to the acrylic, all right? So I'm not going to bore you with this. I'm going to go ahead and bond these back on, and then we'll come back. All right, so we're bonded on. Let me go ahead and take this tape off here. And I'm going to show you a little side. Here's a little side tip, if you can remember it. All right. You're always going to make more than one panel, typically, right? With doing an enclosure. So this kind of looks like a side curtain to me. Like this would be the front, right? And this would be the aft over here. If it was the first piece that I made, you can go ahead and just cut these things straight off. But if it's not, say you've already made the front panel that's curved, right? Now what you would do is you could use your patterns and the other pieces, but you can put them together so that you can line this up so that when you trim these or cut these excess pieces off of here, they're exactly the same as the other piece. Makes a big difference when you go see a boat that's not off down at the bottoms or on the tops of there. So that's kind of a little cheater way to get the panels lined up, is just put them together. And a lot of times if these are bigger in here, I'll put it together and put the patterns on top of it, get it lined up, and then I can, you know, if there's like an arch or something, you can actually rotate this down and get that edge cut exact perfect however it goes. So that's it, it's done. But I'm going to go ahead, well no, one more thing. Once we cut these off of here, you got a finished panel. Now, and I'm not going to show you this, but I'm going to go back to the sewing machine on all 4 of these corners. I'm going to start here and I'm going to stitch through that bottom and lock the stitching in, because I just cut right through the stitching, and that's going to come undone if we don't come back here and sew these. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to sew all 4 of these corners down, and then it would be done and ready for Ketterwelton, zippers, Velcro, whatever you were doing, okay? All right, so good luck with it. That's the project.